Hello, welcome to GeoBuiz, your daily roundup of news from geospatial industry. I'm your host Bhanu Rekha. For the next 15 minutes, I will bring you the news of the top developments across projects, products, policies, and businesses. But first, let's look at the top stories today. The European Union's Copernicus environmental monitoring system gained color vision earlier today. The Sentinel-2A satellite was launched today from Kourou in French Guiana. The satellite was developed by the European Space Agency ESA in collaboration with Airbus Defence and Space. The Sentinel-2A's imaging instrument uses 13 spectral channels ranging from the visible to the infrared. It can deliver high-res multispectral images of the Earth with a resolution of up to 10 meters at an image width of 290 kilometers. ESA's Director General J.J. Dordain tells that Sentinel-2 is the second addition to a constellation of 20 satellites which will scrutinize the planet Earth. The mission will contribute to food security by providing information for the agriculture sector. It will also monitor changes in land surfaces, oceans, and forest covers. The mission will also provide images of floods, volcanic eruptions, and landslides to help disaster management agencies. Volker Liebig, ESA's Director of Earth Observation Programs, notes that by frequently revisiting areas, Sentinel-2A will allow a new generation of operational products. Let's look at some of the reactions coming into this news. Barbara Ryan, Secretariat Director of the Intergovernmental Group on Earth Observation, tells GeoBuiz that Copernicus will see great economic returns like NASA's Landsat program. It will help national economies, she affirms. Jonathan Amos, BBC's science correspondent from UK, tweeted, "What I missed while fast asleep in bed. Sentinel-2's stupendous view of Vega leaving the pad." Also from UK, marine biologist Rodney Forster is positive that Sentinel-2 will be a game changer when it starts producing 10-meter resolution coastal zone images in color. The 1.1-ton satellite has been designed to operate for at least 7 years in a polar orbit 780 kilometers above the Earth. The mission is expected to begin operations in 3 to 4 months. A twin satellite, Sentinel-2B, is scheduled for launch in mid-2016. In another development, unmanned aircraft system operations and specialist HY-Site Technologies has received an exemption from the Federal Aviation Administration FAA. The exemption clears HY-Site for public safety support operations from immediate effect. It has also allowed the company to expand its commercial offerings, including filmmaking, cinematography, videography, precision agriculture, and surveying. John Bartolucci, who owns HiSight with Ryan Anchors, quips that it shouldn't be surprising to see HiSight drones inspecting power lines or doing roofing jobs next door. In another development, members of the Open Geospatial Consortium OGC are requesting comments on the draft charter for an OGC Point Cloud Domain Working Group. The Point Cloud DWG is being established to address the gap in the OGC standards baseline regarding standardization of point cloud data and service formats. The group will not create new standards. It will only provide a collaborative discussion forum to define and understand issues, requirements, use cases, or barriers to interoperability. This working group is motivated by the fast-growing popularity and use of point cloud technology and data. This includes a number of formats and types such as laser scans from aerial and terrestrial platforms like LiDAR, triangulated elevation points, dense observations from the meteorological community, etc. The OGC is also seeking public comment on the OGC Sensor Things API standard. The API is a free and non-proprietary interface that simplifies and accelerates the development of web-based Internet of Things apps. App developers can use this open standard to connect to various IoT devices. They can create innovative applications without individually integrating the heterogeneous protocols of the different IoT devices. System manufacturers can embed the API in their IoT hardware and software to connect with other servers that implement the standard. The candidate follows REST principles and uses JSON encoding. Earthcast announced its plans to build, launch and operate a fully integrated multispectral optical and synthetic aperture radar commercial constellation of Earth observation satellites. The constellation is expected to comprise a minimum of 16 satellites, 8 optical and 8 SAR, flying in 2 orbital planes, with each plane consisting of 4 satellite pairs equally spaced around the orbit plane. The company is expected to deploy the satellites over multiple launches in 2019 and 2020. Once the constellation is in place, Earthcast anticipates to have high collection capacity, optical and SAR data fusion, weather-independent high-resolution imaging using the SAR, target revisit and imaging latency. Earthcast has entered into memoranda of understanding with multiple customers and partners, including an MOU from a confidential customer to provide US $195 million of funding for the constellation. Reports are coming in that Clark Labs has signed an agreement with the NASA-developed national program. As part of this collaboration, Clark Labs will provide its test set software for NASA develops research and application nodes. The test set software provides vertical application modelers for research in climate change, land use change, and Earth trends analysis. James Toledano, Executive Director of Clark Labs, asserts that test set software allows scientists to study human impacts on the environment and plan for future interventions. The NASA-developed program conducts applied science research projects. It integrates NASA Earth observations with the guidance of partner science advisors. Such research projects include applications like agriculture monitoring, ecological forecasting, and water resource management. We will now slip into a short break, but when we return, a look at what's brewing in the world of business and products.
Whether you're a customer service manager, an operations manager, or a general manager, your number one responsibility is exactly the same: keep your customers happy. Trimble Feedback is the perfect way for an electric or gas utility of any size or municipality to empower its customers. It's easy for people to use Trimble Feedback to let you know about an issue that may need to be addressed. Here's a good example. Let's say someone notices a street light that's flickering or not working. Instead of having to leave a voicemail message during off hours, Trimble Feedback enables people to report an issue to you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Using an online web browser or right from their smartphone, Trimble Feedback enables your customers to pinpoint exactly where the issue occurred directly on a map of your town. And as soon as an issue is submitted, you'll receive an alert in your system. You can program Trimble Feedback to automatically send a reply to the person, thanking them for the information and letting them know you'll be addressing the issue shortly. Once an issue is in your system, you can prioritize its importance. Then you can assign responsibility for solving the problem to a relevant individual or team. After the issue has been fixed, you can close the loop by sending an email to the person who originally contacted you, letting them know that all is well. So whatever the issue facing your organization, Trimble Feedback allows you to receive valuable input from your customers about things you're not aware of just yet. Plus, it can also be used by your workforce to report issues they see and to improve workflow processing. So if you're interested in bringing Trimble Feedback to your utility or municipality, visit trimblefeedback.com now. Empower your customers to be part of the solution and make them happier than ever.
Welcome back. Mapbox, a developer of customizable maps used by third-party apps like Foursquare and Pinterest, has raised over $52 million in a Series B round of funding. It is said to be the largest ever funding for any mapping startup. Eric Gundersen, Mapbox CEO and founder, says that the company will use the funds to grow across all teams. He says that Mapbox will continue building amazing technology which would turn any location data into a map. The Washington, D.C. based company's 5,000 paying customers include Etsy, National Geographic, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the Department of Energy. On the products front, Remote Geosystems has released two new Esri-based geospatial video analysis and inspection data reporting tools. Called Line Vision, Esri ArcGIS and Line Vision Esri ArcMap add-in, the solutions accept properly formatted videos from a variety of consumer GPS video cameras such as drones, gyro-stabilized camera systems, and specialized geospatial DVRs. The tools allow users to geospatially navigate a video recording. This is done by clicking a location along a GPS track positioned over an Esri-based map. As the video plays, a cursor moves along the GPS track, constantly indicating where the current video view was captured. If something of interest is detected in the video, users may pause and capture a geotagged still photo from the video. The software can play up to 4 geospatially synchronized videos at once, enhancing the capabilities of modern airborne multi-sensor HD, IR or UV gimbaled cameras and terrestrial mobile mapping systems. Also from the world of software, the United Kingdom's Wokingham Borough Council is using Yotta's StreetWorks software for monitoring and management purposes. The Mayrai StreetWorks system is being used by officials to monitor works in progress and investigate completed works. It has reduced the reliance on paper records and unnecessary trips to the office, resulting in better productivity. Graham Bonwell, traffic manager at Wokingham Borough Council, says that by allowing officers to access the information they need, when they need it, the council is allowing staff to focus on the job in hand. That's all we have for you in GeoBuiz today. Find us on www.geobuiz.com and follow GeoBuiz on Twitter. See you soon with another exclusive interview on GeoBuiz. Accept properly formatted videos from a variety of consumer GPS video cameras such as drones, gyro-stabilized camera systems, and specialized geospatial DVRs. The tools allow users to geospatially navigate a video recording. This is done by clicking a location along a GPS track positioned over an S3-based map. As the video plays, a cursor moves along the GPS track, constantly indicating where the current video view was captured. If something of interest is detected in the video, users may pause and capture a geotagged still photo from the video. The software can play up to 4 geospatially synchronized videos at once, enhancing the capabilities of modern airborne multi-sensor HDIR or UV gimbaled cameras and terrestrial mobile mapping systems. Also from the world of software, the United Kingdom's Wokingham Borough Council is using Yotta's StreetWorks software for monitoring and management purposes. The Mayrai StreetWorks system is being used by officials to monitor works in progress and investigate completed works. It has reduced the reliance on paper records and unnecessary trips to the office, resulting in better productivity. Graham Bonwell, traffic manager at Wokingham Borough Council, says that by allowing officers to access the information they need, when they need it, the council is allowing staff to focus on the job in hand. That's all we have for you in GeoBuiz today. Find us on www.geobuiz.com and follow GeoBuiz on Twitter. See you soon with another exclusive interview on GeoBuiz.
We see the map as both a destination, something that people go and use for finding things, finding directions, getting to where they want to go, even exploring places they've never been to before. But we also see a large number of users who simply find the map almost by accident because they're trying to learn about a place or they're trying to find a business. And so we see a lot of people who simply go to a search box and look up a location, look up a place, and happen to come upon a map as part of their exploration. And then the map then becomes a place that they can learn more about. So we kind of try to deliver a map that supports both search. So you'll see if you go to Bing search, lots of answers that include a map or include data that comes from the map, as well as a destination site where then they can click through and really experience a full-featured map with both the mapping data, imagery, and increasingly richer information about the places that they're trying to visit that don't really show up very well on a search page. I think we have a lot of obviously formidable competitors in the mapping space, and everybody focuses on a unique aspect of what makes mapping great. In our case, we really focus on the kinds of things that really help users get things done. Whether it be finding what they're looking for, whether it be getting directions, whether it be taking something they found and actually making a booking or making a reservation, or actually going deeper into that information. So it's not just about the map. It's about all the information that we can provide about the things that you're looking for on the map. And bringing that power of search and bringing that power of maps together into an integrated experience. We get our data from a number of different sources. We, of course, acquire data from a number of providers. We're also going out and fetching our own data. We send cars out to drive the streets to collect imagery. We fly planes to collect aerial imagery. We also learn from our users. We collect information from our users about what they want to see more about, what information they have, and we integrate that into the experience. So, ours is a data business. We're all about collecting information from as many places as we can get it, and then bringing it all together into one place, and then creating an integrated experience that brings all that data together. We obviously are a content company in and of ourselves. So we actually have a tremendous amount of content that we own, that we provide, but we of course recognize that that there's no one company that can really be the owner of all data, right? So in fact, we value the fact that we can partner very effectively with with content providers, and even with enterprises, to get access to their information and then make their information more valuable by connecting it with other information. Well, I can't comment on the speculation in the press regarding acquisition. We have a very strong partnership with HERE. We do use HERE as one of our base map providers. They're not our only base map provider, and in fact we bring together base maps from a number of different companies as part of Bing Maps. And that's part of our overall strategy of having, again, the best data possible from the best providers possible all together in one place. Some of that's our own, and some of it is from third parties. Yes, it's a very interesting part of our business where we make mapping data, geocoding, imagery, both street level and aerial imagery, and other services available to enterprise customers. That could be enterprises who use that data to build anything as simple as a store locator on the web, to geofencing, all the way out to very rich line of business applications where they're studying their customers, whether it be studying their sales force, studying the location of cell towers, studying forestry. So a lot of our enterprise customers do very rich analytics using the geospatial data that we provide. It could be governments, it could be nonprofits. One of the interesting things that we do is provide these base APIs and services, but then allow our enterprise customers to upload their data into our cloud, whether it be Azure or our spatial data services, where they can actually upload their data and then process their data using our APIs, controls, and data services to then get a deeper and more rich level of insight and analytics into their information. Many of our customers are integrating with things like machine learning in Azure, and again, getting that new level of insight into their geospatial data. One of the things that makes us very unique is we recognize as an enterprise company that enterprise data is very, very critical to the enterprise's success, and that they consider their data to be private and something that they don't want their suppliers to be looking at or sharing with other customers. So we have very strong controls over the privacy of our enterprise customers' data, making sure that that data is their own data, but then we give them the option to share that data if they choose to and make that data available more broadly. So they have the best of both worlds, privacy by default, but selective publication if they want to take advantage of that capability. We love the enterprise business. It's our bread and butter business, to be able to enable enterprises to do more with geospatial data, with the cloud, and with machine learning. We have been seeing a fairly substantial amount of interest from enterprise customers who are starting to look at how can they move to Bing and Microsoft geospatial services, whether it be because they are unhappy or worried about Google services, or whether they value things like our privacy guarantee or simply the quality of our data that we offer, the richness of our cloud offerings. So we see a lot of opportunity in growing our enterprise business. Some of the activities that we've been engaging in are making it easier for enterprise customers to come on board with Bing Maps. We just launched an integrated identity system that really allows enterprise customers and developers to use a single ID to access their Windows developer accounts, their mapping data services, and their licensing all in one go. And then we're providing a number of migration guides to make it easier for enterprises to move their data into Bing Maps from whoever their provider happens to be. We just published a blog post describing how end users can, in fact, move their own private data into the Bing cloud as well. So we're really trying to make it easy to come on board and then migrate your data in. And we think there's a lot of opportunity for people to take advantage of the capabilities that we have to offer. So we partnered with OpenStreetMap a few years ago to really support the growth of open data. One of the things that we do provide is a lot of our imagery is made available to OpenStreetMap. They use that imagery as ground truth information to help their map editors to improve the quality of their base map. So we're very excited by the rise of OSM as a choice of base map. In many markets, they're the only choice that's got reasonable viability. We're a co-sponsor of the OpenStreetMap conference in New York because we are very excited by the rise of open data and the importance, not just of OpenStreetMap, but the overall open data initiative across the board. The more data that's available, the better it is for mapping providers like ourselves, as well as for enterprise customers who need to bring that data together with other services. So we do partner actually with, first of all, a number of people who provide data, where we will either license or partner to share data for use with our customers, and often we'll share our own data with other customers, other partners for access to their customers. So there's a lot of those opportunities. We actually do a lot of joint data acquisition activities also with technology partners who they might have a technology or they might have a program going on to go out and fetch data somewhere. Well, we'll partner to kind of either co-fund or kind of help share the technical complexity, provide our technical expertise to help simplify that data acquisition. So we worked with here, for example, a few years ago to map the favelas in Brazil, an area of Brazil that had really not been mapped forever, and where millions and millions of people live, and work together to really go out and be the first two companies to really create an accurate map of the favelas, using both technology and data and expertise sharing to really go after that area. Well, we are certainly proud of the fact that we innovate very aggressively in Bing Maps, and we aspire to have the best user experience, the fastest user experience on both desktop and mobile. I'll mention a few things that we've been up to lately. Obviously, we're continuing to grow the amount of imagery that we make available. We're publishing about 200,000 kilometers of street-level imagery every month. Growing very rapidly the amount of imagery that we have. In even the most rural parts of the United States, we've now got some fantastic imagery. So again, providing that data that allows users to really experience where they're trying to go and what they're trying to see as if they're really there. We just launched the new Windows Map application for Windows 10, both desktop and mobile. A really stunning experience. It brings together a great base map with 3D, with transit, with aerial imagery, with street side imagery, and allows you in one application on your mobile phone, on your desktop, to do trip planning and really explore places in high definition 3D and 2D imagery. And we are continuing to invest very heavily in the Bing Maps web experience, and I will simply say that we've got some pretty exciting things planned, and I'll be looking forward to announcing some of the fundamental innovations that we're planning to release sometime this summer.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Pomfret, and thank you for watching Policy Pulse. I am a lawyer and the Executive Director for the Center for Spatial Law and Policy. The Center for Spatial Law and Policy is a nonprofit organization with a mission to raise awareness of the laws, policies, and regulations that the geospatial community will face as applications using geospatial information continue to grow. These issues cut across both technology platforms and legal disciplines. This half hour, we will explore important policy and legal issues that impact the collection, the use, storage, and distribution of geospatial information. Each program will include discussions with geospatial experts from around the world. Topics to be addressed will include issues such as commercial remote sensing, drones, geolocation privacy, smart grids, smart cities, intelligent transportation systems and autonomous vehicles, and data licensing. Today we are joined by Dr. Ingo Bauman. Ingo is a partner of BHO Legal, a boutique law firm based in Cologne, Germany. Ingo has wide experience in legal aspects of space, navigation, satellite navigation, and geoinformation industries. Before establishing BHO Legal, Ingo has been a legal advisor with the German Aerospace Center. He was the head of the center's Galileo project office and CEO of an operating company for the Galileo Control Center. He advises institutions and companies involved in satellite navigation and other major European space and high technology programs. He is a member of the International Institute of Space Law, the European Center for Space Law, the Space Law Committee of the International Bar Association, and a regular organizer of conferences and sessions on legal issues of space, satellite navigation, and geospatial industries. Our topic today is open data. Specifically, we are going to talk about a recently published paper that Dr. Bauman co-authored with Ray Harris, a professor in the Department of Geography at University College in London. The title of the paper is Open Data in Satellite Earth Observation. This excellent study can be found in the journal Space Policy. Ingo, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about the paper that you co-authored with Dr. Harris, with Ray Harris?
Yes, hi Kevin. It's nice to see you again, even only on Skype as well. The background of this paper is already quite old. It's about nearly 3 years ago when Ray and myself, we were part of an interdisciplinary study team for the European Commission to help them, which resulted in a delegated regulation, as some of our audience may know. And sometime later, we decided to convert the main results into an article, but the publication process also took a very long time. So in fact, the paper is already around a year old now.
Could you tell us a little bit about how open data is defined in your paper, or how it's defined in various institutions around the world?
Well, what in fact we were doing in the paper is analyzing around different data policies with the aim to compare mainly the definitions and meanings of the core terms open, full, and free.
And are there
the results was that in fact these terms are used, let's say, in a quite ambiguous and unclear way in many of the.
So you cut off a little bit there, Ingo, but I think you were saying that you were looking at open, free, and access, and that there was some ambiguities in terms of how they were used by different organizations?
Yes, exactly, Kevin. You are also a bit interrupted from time to time. I hope it will work better. The result is that there is confusion about the real meaning of these core terms, full, free, and open. In our recommendations, in fact, we come to the end that, in fact, these terms should be used in a more consistent and clear way. Sometimes, for example, free is meant to mean more, let's say, the way of accessing, so that it's easy access, sometimes understood to be via the internet, or so, whether it should only refer to free of charge.
One of the parts that I really liked about your paper is with the research that you did on the exceptions to when organizations aren't required to make data open, and your paper highlights a number of those, and different organizations have different reasons or different definitions of what those exceptions are. Can you discuss some of these and how important they are within organizations?
Yeah, doing all these different data policies, we made a collection of the, let's say, usual exceptions, and we came to something like 15 or so, which of course are not all used at the same time in each single data policy, but they appear very regular, and usually each data policy numerous of these. And of course, they include such issues like international law, international relations, foreign policy, national security, defense, set so far quite, let's say, usual. Then also more, let's say, legal restrictions, national legislation, third-party rights, IPR, confidentiality, these type of things. But then more unusual aspects sometimes, like indigenous rights, protection of species, protection of archaeological sites, availability, and so on and so on. Yeah? So it's quite a broad number of exceptions, and in fact, what is lacking in most of the policy documents are clear rules when and how these. So this leads, in fact, to the result that while the basic principle is full open, and this is apparently also the aim of the document, that the number of exceptions is so long and their application is so broad or potentially broad that in the end it's not really clear to what extent I might really have this full, free and open access.
One of the things that you do note is that data protection is one of the exceptions, and I think that's fairly common.
Data.
What's that, Ingo? I'm sorry.
No, I was listening to you.
Yes. So you talked about data protection. Can you talk a little bit about what you found in your study between the relationship between open data and data protection or privacy, and some of the tensions there?
Is one element in this long list of potential exceptions, and is as we discussed in many times already in many fora, is a very complicated factor for geospatial data and services, because in the end, all geospatial data can be personal data. And this is mainly due to the fact that they are maybe not by themselves personal data, but if they are combined with other data sets, and there's a lot of, let's say, uncertainty in the industry, but not only in industry, also in public institutions, how to identify whether a specific geo data set is personal data sensitive or is not. And also, of course, and rightfully so, data protection laws tend to be technology neutral, so they contain, let's say, a specific chapter. Now here you have the rules for geodata, and this is often what the experts would like to see, but they don't find it. So in fact, there's quite some uncertainty about data protection.
Yes, you highlight that well in the paper. Just a quote, you say, this together with the unspecific legal framework results in a high degree of uncertainty for both public and commercial data providers, whether or not data protection laws apply and how they should be observed. And I think that was a really excellent point, and something, as a lawyer that I've seen, and I think will continue to become a challenge, because both the push for open data and push for data protection and privacy laws. We hear a lot about the Creative Commons license, and you talk a little bit about that in the paper. Can you discuss what you found out about the use of Creative Commons license and maybe some of the challenges associated with that for licensing geospatial data?
Yeah, our main starting point on open data in science, which in their document make a very interesting statement that in fact Creative Commons is not, let's say, the right instrument for data, and including also geospatial data. And the legal background for this is that Creative Commons has been mainly developed for copyright geodata, in fact, today, more and more, are automatically collected, processed, stored, archived, distributed, and so on. So in fact, the, let's say, human creative value of these data is not so much given, it's less and less. And then, of course, you come to the end that these type of data by copyright legislation. And therefore also the Creative Commons might not be if you look to what is happening in reality is that many institutions, organizations and so on go for Creative Commons. So there's some kind of maybe misunderstanding here.
Just again, and I apologize for the glitches in the Skype discussion, but just to repeat what I think you said, which is that the Creative Commons license was structured originally for copyrighted data, and because increasingly geospatial data it doesn't have the creativity associated with copyright, that perhaps the Creative Commons license is not the best license vehicle to use, but ironically, that's one that a number of open data and geospatial organizations are using, even though it may not apply. Is that a fair representation of what you said, Ingo?
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, and I think you make a really good point of that in the paper as well. So again, I urge people to read this, in possible, particularly in the open data community, because it highlights a number of issues, and these issues aren't necessarily, saying that you shouldn't use open data or that you shouldn't use licenses, but just highlighting some of the challenges that are going to be out there, so that the geospatial community and the open data community can sort of work through these and understand what some of the challenges are. Another thing that is referenced in the paper, and you also mentioned this in Lisbon when we talked at the Geospatial World Inspire Forum, is the effort undergone in Germany to help standardize licenses, because some of the challenges are that licenses vary. In fact, you gave an excellent description of, I think there were maybe more than hundreds of different licenses within the German country. Can you describe that a little bit, both what was the genesis of the standardization and what the results were?
Yes, in fact, in Germany we have since several years already, maybe around 2008 or so, there's a lot of work done on geodata, also on the things. And there is a committee between the government and industry, and this committee has established different working groups, and one working group was in fact on licenses. And they looked into the real situation, and also due to the federal structure of Germany, what they found out is that there are really hundreds of different license types in place by the different public authorities on federal level down to local levels, and sometimes even within one public administration, multiple licenses in use. This was due to historical reasons, lack of coordination. So, and industry was complaining very harshly that, in fact, it's impossible for them to work with this situation if they use multiple data from multiple sources. Possible. So there was a big effort to identify, let's say, the core elements of all these licenses and to develop a small set of model licenses. In fact, there is one core model license, and then it has, I don't know exactly, something like 4 or 5 little free of charge or not free of charge and so on, whether there are some restrictions, but the core is always the same. And this has been developed, and currently the committee and industry, they are promoting this very strongly. They make road shows and meetings with different public administrations on all level to convince them that they switch from their current license side model licenses.
Are those licenses available?
Yes.
Yep.
They are publicly available, and they are even most of the material has even been translated in English. So it's a very good source even for international experts. I think the website is GeoLicense.
We seem to have lost Ingo, at least his visual. Ingo, are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. You broke off when you said that. Oh, there you are. You were giving us what you thought the website was to access the licenses. Could you say that again, please?
Yes, in fact, there is a website. It's very transparent, and most of the material is in English. It's GeoLicense, but in German. But I also provide the information to any interested in the audience.
Well, that's great. I think there will be a lot of interest. I know I'm frequently asked, are there good examples of standardized data licenses that people can use as they start trying to open data sets or other types of geospatial data sets? So I encourage people to take a look at that website and contact Ingo or myself if they're interested in learning more about that. Personally, Ingo, the challenge of multiple licenses is a really difficult one that I see for the growth of the geospatial industry as applications and services and products are developed that use data sources or data from a variety of different sources and trying to combine different licenses agreement, particularly if you look at a license as more than just a transfer of intellectual property rights, but also an allocation of risk, on whether it be risk about the quality of the data or complying with laws such as privacy laws. Do you see that as a challenge as well when you look forward in the geospatial community? I know Germany has conducted this research and helped standardize a license, but when you look more broadly, do you see that as a challenge going forward, that something the geospatial community is going to have to address?
Yeah, absolutely, and it becomes even more massive with the advent, where by technology it becomes even much more easy to combine large data sets from different sources. So potentially the number of the different, let's say, input rights, licenses and so on, becomes even more vast. So it will become even more complicated to, let's say, understand and to properly manage Did you hear that, Kevin?
No. Could you say that again, please, Ingo? You said that it's becoming even more difficult to properly manage, and then you cut off again.
Yeah, due to the advent of big data, because by big data technology you can even increase the number of incoming data sets and analytics and so on and so on. So if the data set becomes greater, then potentially the number of related license terms becomes also greater. So the problem might even increase in the future.
So that brings me probably to the last point that I think we can discuss, and I think there's maybe a lot of different ways that we can address it. But I frequently, when I talk, I reference about getting your lawyer to yes and to helping them sort of understand what your issues are, because there are so many legal issues wrapped up in a license agreement. Do you have any suggestions for your clients or for people in the either government or business when they're when they're going to talk to their lawyer, dealing with their lawyer in terms of how they can help him or her, get them to the solution that they want. I frequently hear people in the community, get frustrated with working with lawyers. But are there certain steps that can help, you or other lawyers going forward as they're trying to sort of negotiate deals or license, data sets to another organizations or develop a standardized license?
Well, let's say the first advice would be go to your lawyer. From the practical experience, and you also indicated, it seems that in many organizations consulted on these questions, scientists, researchers, but also the more commercial, technical users of the data. They simply, do it. Yeah? They take data, they modify data, they distribute data, combine, and so on, and they all do this, with quite a low level of awareness on the legal problem. That would be the first. On the other hand, it's true, if legal experts start to look into this, they also become a bit crazy, because then, first of all, it's a huge amount of work. Yeah, sometimes hundreds of different licenses, which data set comes from which sources and which rules apply, and how they all fit together. So I can also understand those people who have frustrated with the big bulk of questions and efforts they were confronted with. Yeah, but in the end, it's a work which needs to be done if you want to base your business or also your, public data distribution on a sound legal basis.
And how about the flip side? What can lawyers do to better serve the geospatial community? How you mentioned the certainly understandable the frustration about going to and trying to talk to a lawyer and dealing with this, but are there things that the legal profession should be doing to help the geospatial community, particularly given its importance? And by that I mean both from a legal standpoint and maybe from a policy standpoint as well.
Well, first of all, explaining the applicable legal framework and helping to find solutions how to make the business coping sense of the lawyer's work. One of the problems, and I think we are all aware of it, is that currently, there are very few legal experts really understanding the geospatial community, the technologies, the problems, and vice versa. Little geospatial experts understanding the so to create awareness and more intensified exchange between the different expert communities.
In a related question, do you think that the geospatial community can play a larger role in sort of the open data initiatives to explain to them some of their unique challenges, both from a policy and legal standpoint? So, for instance, the licensing issues associated with geospatial data that's not subject to copyright protection, and a license such as a Creative Commons license that may be applicable to some other type of open data from a government source, for instance, may not be applicable to geospatial community.
Yes, absolutely. I think currently not so much is happening on, at least in some countries, on the national level. These type of works are already ongoing, but also slowly on the international level. If I look, for example, to GEO and so the global Earth observation, they are now starting to reflect how they can better involve industry and how they can also be a mechanism. So I think that's just one of many examples where the geospatial industry can bring in their voice in different fora.
So we've got another 2 minutes or so left, Ingo. This is a chance maybe for you, if there's something that we didn't talk about in the paper that you wanted to raise, or something outside of the paper dealing with open data and Earth observation. I'd like to give you this opportunity.
Well, one of the starting points for the paper was in fact the European Copernicus program, which is a massive Earth observation program with over the years more than 11 Earth observation satellites and an expected big amount of very interesting data. So this has been a driver, let's say, for our work, and now we are moving. I think the second Sentinel satellite has just been launched, I think this morning or this night, depending on where you are, successfully. So this is certainly one of the challenges now to implement the data policy, which has been written more than a year ago, to see this now happening in practice.
So even though it did take a little while to get published, it sounds like the timing was really it was spot on. It sounds like, so that hopefully people will take a look at this paper and some of the research that you've done and the conclusions you've made, and start applying this, not only with the Sentinel but with other initiatives around the world. And so with that, Ingo, I'd like to thank you. Appreciate you taking the time. I know it's towards the end of the day over there, but appreciate you. Go ahead.
Okay, Kevin. I thank you also, and I hope to see you soon again. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks. Well,
bye-bye.
Bye, Ingo.
Bye.
That we'll finish up today's Policy Pulse, but I look forward to having you join us for future episodes of this as we discuss important policy and legal issues that impact the geospatial community.